You are listening to the Julie Parker Practice Success Podcast, where you discover management insights and strategies for your successful dental practice. There are also interviews with key people in the industry who have advice and services to help you and your team achieve great success. Welcome to this episode of the Julie Parker Practice and Success Podcast. And today I've got a wonderful returning guest, Cate Scolnik of Sane Social Media, a digital marketing guru. Cate, we've worked with you in the past. We've suggested you to many people because you're an absolutely awesome chick in this space. How are you?
I'm very well. And you?
Very, very good. Very good. For those that haven't heard your previous episode, just tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I do digital marketing and specialise in helping medical practitioners in Australia because, of course, it is a challenging space with all of the legislation and APRA, TGA guidelines, all of this fun stuff. So, yeah, we work with a lot of dental practices as well as aesthetic and cosmetic businesses.
Fantastic, fantastic. And it is, you were just saying that there's new guidelines that have come down through APRA for dentists as well. And it's just so important that I didn't even know about those new ones that were coming down. So we've got to be so aware of what needs to be happening. And we do have to be compliant, but we want to be really effective with our marketing as well. And I think one of the common things that we come to realise is that when we take into consideration SEO and website and digital and social and all the very many avenues, are you finding that there are a lot of dental practices out there that are a bit lost in all the fields of areas where they can market?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is confusing. It's confusing. And, particularly when you're a clinic, we know that times are tight. Finances are tight for everyone. So I think everyone is feeling the crunch. And so, of course, there's the ongoing battle of, do I spend a fortune on marketing? Do I do it in-house? Do I do a bit of a split between the two? And more importantly, am I going to get good return on any investment in terms of time or financial investment I spend on marketing or advertising? And even above that, is it compliant? Is the business, if I am going to outsource any part of it, am I risking my reputation? Am I risking my business? These are big, scary questions.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to do as well is to put all the time, energy and money into designing and creating a particular message in your marketing, only to have to pull it because APRA's unhappy with it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we'd just rather not go down that path. We'd rather not sort of upset APRA. So, I mean, the way we usually approach things is the first thing we do is we look at your base. And so we go, okay, let's look at what you've got in place. Let's look at where are there any non-compliant things that need to be, sorted out, fixed up, because that's the first thing. If we're going to do anything to get extra eyes on your marketing, on your website, we need to make sure that that is compliant first. Yeah. And then we can make sure that it then looks good, represents you and your brand, and helps position you as the go-to clinic in your area.
There's just so many things to consider. I know this with just Amina and myself, and you've helped us with our marketing in the past as well. And there are so many elements to it. It's not just the wording. It's who is the wording going to appeal to? Is that the right wording for your ideal market? As you said, is it also in line with your brand? Are you using the right platforms? And on top of that, then there's cost and all the things to make sure that you're in it long enough to have a good return on investment. It's such an area where you can spend a lot of money, and it seems to take a long time to see if there is going to be a positive return on investment. Where do you see a lot of practices? Is there kind of a one thought that you have around where they should be putting their energies toward? How much goes towards the digital marketing, for example?
So, look, I think it's certainly worthwhile doing the organic stuff. That is content marketing. So posting at least 3 times a week on Facebook and or Instagram, as well as posting at least once a week on your Google business profile. So actually your Google business profile is a really simple thing that we can optimize, and it can sort of just give you that little extra, look, it's not an SEO strategy in and of itself, but it can give you that little bit of extra oomph in the SEO space. So one of the things that we want to make sure of is let's have a look at that Google business profile. Is it accurate? And also that image that comes up on the Google map. All too often people have put a logo in there, maybe a photograph of the clinic, the team or something. The best thing, if you can get a great photograph of the outside of your building, that is the best thing, because then if you send people a little reminder about, hey, we're looking forward to seeing you. If you haven't been to us before, here's a link to us on Google. Now we know a lot of people are going to go to Google and go, okay, if they're new, they're going to say, okay, I don't know where this place is. Let me look it up on the map. And then they know where it is and they can always put in, where's the nearest parking. But then we have all these little micro fears that we don't necessarily articulate. And so all of these little micro fears, they're a bit like a speed bump, particularly when we're going to somewhere new. And what we don't necessarily unpack is the fact that we think, okay, well, this is a bit stressful. I've got to find this new place. I can do that on the Google Maps and I've got to find the parking and then I've got to get between the parking and where they are. And what if I'm standing on the street looking around for this building going, oh, I don't know where it is. I can't see it. And then I feel self-conscious and uncomfortable, like everyone's looking at me going, oh, who is this strange person standing on the street looking for something? Right. So how can we smooth over those sort of speed bumps for new people? And a lot of the time, when we approach things like our reminder messages, we do it from a position that we know all this stuff, so we don't put it in. But if we can put in helpful things like, we're looking forward to seeing you if you haven't been to us before, and here's where your date. So what I do, backtrack a bit, what I would do is put the most important information at the front, which is looking forward to seeing you on this date and time. Anyone who's been before then can miss the rest of it. But then we can say, if you're new, here's a link to our position on a location using Google Docs, Google Maps, and you can find parking. The nearest free parking is blah, blah, blah. So then people can go, okay, great, I've got the link. And then when they click the link, getting back to Google Business Profile, they will find you on the map, and that little first image that comes up, if that's the outside of the building, that makes it easy, because then I park my car where you've told me and I go, okay, this is what I'm looking for in terms of signage. So all of this sort of stuff, as well as posting just once a week about some of your services, photographs of you, your clinic, the team, no stock images, because they don't make you stand out as anything from different to anyone else. People want to look at your photos and go, oh, they look nice. They look friendly, so the clinic looks nice. So this is all fairly simple stuff that we can do just to have a bit of an oomph in SEO and doing that content marketing. So then when it comes to doing any advertising, we've got to be fairly careful about what we want to invest in there, because Google AdWords are great, but we have to remember what they're doing. What they're doing is they're driving traffic to a website or a landing page. Now, if that website or landing page is not high converting, you're sending a lot of people there for a lot of investment and you're not necessarily getting much out of it. It's kind of like if they go to the website, they might have a look around, because we all procrastinate. So they might go, oh, yes, this looks nice. Oh, this is how I can book. Oh, I'll sign up for their newsletter and I'll think about it later when that arrives. Because we all do that. We all procrastinate. We all put off making that big decision. So often Google AdWords is like, it has its place, but you have to make sure it's sending it to a high converting place, because you want to maximize that investment you're spending on ads. Whereas if we invest in Facebook advertising, we can do lead ads, get the contact details of those people. Now, not all of those will convert into bookings, but we can then remarket to them with newsletters. So we can do a reactivation campaign to them saying, hey, you expressed interest in this offer a while ago. We've got this offer you might be interested in, that kind of thing, which is sort of then lower cost to those existing contacts.
It is such a system, isn't it? We need a little bit of everything. Everything has to support each other. And if I could bring the analogy out, maybe that it's like saying that to build a really successful dental practice, we just got to make sure the clinician is clinically expert or accomplished. Just that one alone isn't going to work if you've got a crappy team, crappy premises, it looks terrible. So everything has its role to play, doesn't it?
Well, and it's like the great clinician who then isn't necessarily great at case presentation. You know, then they wonder why they're not getting some of those higher value sort of cases, why they constantly miss out on those, or the people keep choosing the sort of least expensive option rather than the best option, which is not necessarily the most expensive, but, you know, so case presentation is so critical. The thing with marketing is to be really strategic about, okay, where are we now? Where are we trying to get to? What tools can we use to get there? And some of those tools might be advertising. Some of those tools might be digital marketing. So that's the way I always approach it, is like, where are you now? Where are you trying to get to? What is the most efficient way we can get you there?
Because I think a lot of people, and I may be wildly wrong here, but when it comes to marketing, if they were asked, what are you trying to achieve? They would just say, more new patients. And it's way too broad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It is. And look, you know, like, because it is so big and overwhelming and confusing, what we have started doing is harnessing the power of AI.
Yeah, nice.
So we actually, when we're working with businesses, we actually build a custom AI for every business. So we get it to go, we tell it, this is this business and it's in this location and it offers these services. Go and do a deep dive into all of the target audience, what their pain points are, what the messaging should be. Now, at this stage, this document that it creates is not necessarily compliant, but it's giving us a whole bunch of insights into the clinic and their ideal customers. And then we can upload that into a custom GPT and give it all of the AHPRA guidelines and tell it, right, when we ask you to create stuff, you need to adhere to these brand guidelines. You need to we can get it to adhere to the voice of the clinic owner as well. We can upload some audio or some written content so that we capture their brand. We can capture their background story. How did they come to be a dentist? What made them open their own clinic? And then that can be woven into any of the content so that it sounds very natural and it sounds very much like it's come from that business, but it's built in that it's compliant.
It's all very interesting because the aspect that when we are trying to stand out from the crowd, and when we look at the fact that a lot of dental practices, they do offer all those things that used to be unique. We do Invisalign. Heaps of people do Invisalign. We do implants. Heaps of people do implants. And we've got the best technology. Heaps of people have the best technology. And, yeah, we're preferred provider. So are we. We have extended hours. So do we. And so when we're in that space where a lot of the messages that are going out to these potential patients they can find those same messages attached to a whole bunch of other dental practices. It comes back to what is going to be your point of difference. And it ends up being, I think, what matters a lot to patients as well, which is, are you going to be gentle? Are you going to fee appropriately? Are you going to value me as a human being coming through? I won't be just another number coming through. So in essence, how am I going to feel coming into your practice? It reminds me of, there was a client that years ago, I had to ring a whole series of telecommunications companies to find out the best system for them. And I rang the first one on the list. And he was very polite and he said, tell me exactly what you need. And I said, we need this many lines and go on hold and these messages and things. And then after I completed the list, he said to me, you know what? You've called the right place. That's exactly what we can do for you. And I was like, you beauty. And I didn't ring the other four. I turfed the list because he made me feel, with a couple of sentences, he made me feel like this was the right place for him, even though I had a list of places that could all help me out. How do we do that with our digital marketing?
So the main thing is to remember that people do business with people, not really with businesses. Like, okay, if we're an Apple and, you know, the company Apple, and we can go, hey, we're Apple, we're putting out the latest iPhone on Monday, get in line now, that'll be fine. But if I say, hey, I'm putting out my latest phone, Cate's phone, next week, everyone's like, well, who cares? So what we need to do, particularly as a clinic, is what a lot of people do is they think it's professional to have photographs of stock images, all of that sort of stuff on their website. But the fact is anyone can do that. Whereas if you get someone in to take some nice photographs just for the website, you don't have to have professional ones for social media, but you then showcase your team and what makes them unique and try to get those connections that we would get in person happening online. So what is it that Cate would be doing in her off time when she's not a dentist? Or what do you love best about working here? Oh, I love the camaraderie in the team, or whatever it is. So getting people to understand, getting sort of letting them know what it is that makes you different, why you love being a dental or a dentist or a DA or, something like that. What is it that you love most? That sort of information, that's what touches them, which is what you were talking about, is touching them on an emotional level rather than on a clinical level. So, getting in touch with them emotionally is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, gosh. And it's a different kind of languaging as well. And this is where AI can be fantastic. I remember with another client that I've got in my mind, he was retiring, and so there was going to be a transition of patients. We drafted the retirement letter in AI, saying these are all the key points. Can you draft this letter? It drafted the letter. We said, oh, that's quite delightful. That's a good letter. And then we put the command through, can you make it much warmer? These patients mean a lot to this dentist. And what came back, it nearly had us in tears. It was so beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
And so if you don't feel like that you're, a wordsmith that's to the degree that you need it to be to really speak emotionally to AI can all of a sudden be a wonderful tool.
The key thing is that if you just use, say, ChatGPT or whatever, then you've got to tell it everything, all the background every time. Whereas if you create a custom one, then you can say, okay, let's upload anything that is relevant, useful, so that we can do the initial sort of stuff, but then we can also go, you know what, when we were doing that other bit of analysis the other day, or gave it all of that background about that other key thing, we should actually put that into a document, upload that into its memory so that it can refer back to it. So that's what I'm finding, particularly with my own GPT that I'm using. So yeah, it's great that I can tell it my hero journey and how I got to be where I am. And then it can create this content that is tailored to my voice as well as to my background. It can pull in stories from when I was 9 years old and things like that. So yeah, that's the thing, is to make it a custom one as much as possible, because otherwise you're starting from scratch with all that research about what is my target audience. And sometimes people think their target audience is one thing, but actually if you dive into it with research and go, well, in this location, it's actually more like this. Then, if you get it research based, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And depending on what your goal is, because if your goal is to have more new patients, ideally you want more new patients that keep returning. So you're looking to speak to not just every new patient, but the type that see a dentist regularly for all their checkups and cleans and are loyal and want to be there for a number of years. That's one goal. But what if you've just kind of implemented implants in your practice? That's a different audience that are attracted to that. They're actually searching for a particular service.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And so, you can tell AI, hey, based on my brand and my business and the guidelines that I have to adhere to, can you create a caption about this topic, or a couple of captions about this topic that's going to go on this platform? And it will tailor it to the different platforms. And you can say, okay, I want a long form one, but it will know that, for example, LinkedIn is usually a longer form, and, it'll tailor it to Instagram and to Facebook. And you can also say, look, I'm thinking of using these hashtags. Are they compliant?
Yeah, nice. I didn't even think about the compliance of the hashtags.
So it depends on what space you're in, but certainly, some medical practitioners, particularly, plastic surgeons and things, the hashtags have a big impact. With the TGA stuff that came out last year, we can't sort of say hashtag injector. I mean, there are dentists who are in the injectable space, and I've had a number of conversations with dentists going, okay, so I understand that you've done training and you can do this. We can't really talk about, muscle relaxants or injectables. How can we advertise or market that we can help people with, the masseters and stuff? So, I mean, the main thing is just, I say to them, look, the only thing we can really do is say, we can provide services for, say, clenching and grinding that not every dentist can provide. So we need to sort of, or that perhaps not every dentist may be able to provide. Yeah, because not every dentist does injectables. So, and we had to strip that out of every single clinic that we
Oh,
worked with since
yeah.
the dawn of time. So every hashtag that was, because you can't use anything that's hashtag B or some sort of. People are trying to get around this by saying multimodal um, um, treatments or
Yeah.
multiple types of treatments. That's not compliant. You can't actually even hint about it. So if I had Profilo, a cream, if this was Profilo cream, and I went, hey, we have Profilo, and my intention was to sell Profilo cream, that would be fine. But if I kept doing that, and it was very clear that my intention was to sell Profilo injectables, and I was just hinting, the same post can actually cross the line.
Wowee.
So it's
Because
about what your
you're using
intent
that as
is.
bait to get them in to convert them to something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I even had someone who was a dentist who had a dental and aesthetics clinic soon after the new legislations came out, and she got a pen and she sent me this little video of her just running the pen down her face, down her nose, saying something like, yes, I am a dental aesthetician, and yes, I do things to myself that I'm not allowed to talk about online. And so she was running this pen down her face. I said, we can't post that. She's going, why not? I said, because that strongly hints that you do injectables. We can't, that's not compliant. So even though the words themselves were not a problem, we can't do that. I had a bunch of pens created that were syringe pens. If someone who does injectables was seen writing a little note, like a little B-roll thing on Instagram, writing a note with a syringe pen, that would be seen as not compliant.
Wowee. Gosh. So they really are kind of not just getting to the content, but the intention behind it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the new TGA stuff. Yep.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. And certain phrases you can use in certain contexts and not in others. Yeah.
Do you think it's just going to get more and more complicated? These
I think
guidelines
so.
from TGA? I mean, from APRA?
I think so. I mean, all of the media that's come out today about APRA is all around how they're continuing to be committed to their patient-centric focus. So, I mean, unfortunately, the TGA regulations that came out last year have kind of muddied the waters because a lot of the public think, oh, all of these things that are prescription injectables must be really poisonous and bad, which is not the case. So it's made it quite hard for the public to get information about anything because it's just, we can't even phone somewhere and say, hey, do you do this stuff? They're not supposed to say yes.
Oh,
So,
crazy. Even though it's a legitimate service.
Yeah. Even if someone phones and says, hey, I've been getting Botox, at the other place and I've just relocated and I want to come to you. How much is it? Do you do it? Then they're not supposed to say. They're supposed to say, look, you'll need to come in and discuss that with a consultant.
Okay, only after a
consultation.
Yeah.
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 Goodness gracious. I'm going to have to read myself all of those things. Well, coming back to the posting on social media, I assess a number of social media pages, Facebook pages mainly, for dental practices, and a lot of them have the usual cartoony like posts and how to brush posts and acknowledgement of certain public holidays and things like that. However, it does feel like a bit of a missed opportunity. You were saying before, you don't need to have professional photographs to be posting socially and have a really good impact, because as a fresh eyes looking at these Facebook pages, the Facebook pages that have celebration of team member birthdays, we've got a cake, or we're doing this fun run together, or this is this is us having a little funny skit inside the surgery, so much more engaging and an opportunity for a patient to have a little, or potential patient to have a little snapshot look into what goes on behind the doors.
Well, that's why I love using the AI, because we can say to it, look, come up with some great ideas, come up with some strategies. So because I've seen so many clinics that, particularly when they're in the beginning stages or, like I say, times are tight. So we often end up saying to one of the admin team, hey, you're young, you're on Facebook or whatever, half of the time anyway. So we want you to do the posting. And then they're in this really difficult position because they don't understand the guidelines. They know how to post for themselves, but not for a clinic, all of this kind of stuff. So, as I've sort of continued this AI journey this year, I went, you know what we could make this really easy by creating a really simple tool for anyone in healthcare in Australia to use to check whether their content is compliant and to get it to do a lot of this deep research and create a fast action strategy, a fast action growth strategy. So that's what I've actually created, is an online system that's super simple. All people have to do is put in 4 questions, answer 4 questions, like what's their name, what's their clinic name, what's their services, where they're located. And it'll go and do that research and create the messaging branding table and an avatar for them, all of that sort of stuff. Ask them if they would like that in a PDF, and then hand it over to another AI that's in the system that will create a fast action growth strategy that will tell them this platform is the best, or these 2 platforms, don't worry with that platform. Here's the best way. Here's the best things that you can do to increase your growth in the shortest possible time with the least investment. And then it will hand it to a content creator in there, an AI content creator that now has all of that information as well as all of the APRA guidelines, and it can help you create content. In fact, one of the things it can do, it can create 5 Instagram posts for the business at the push of a button.
Oh, how easy is all that? And dental practices are crazy busy. I mean, the people, it is structured. It's one of those businesses that is structured in a way that the team members are either seeing a patient or on a lunch break.
Yeah.
And there's no fluid time usually to go, oh, what can we do for the next hour? Let's do that. And so to have something so efficient is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also has a spam checker in there as well, because I'm seeing a lot of people are not necessarily adhering to spam guidelines, Australian spam guidelines. And then the public are getting more and more across these, and they're starting to come back and say, hey, this is not compliant with the spam laws. So I've put that in there. So I just sort of thought, you know what, there's a whole bunch of complexity here. Let's make the compliance checker and the spam checker, let's make them completely free. If people want to use the ongoing content creator, it's $27 a month. So while it's in beta at the moment, but it's going pretty well. And I just think, there's so much happening for these people, and I have all this knowledge. Why can't I just give some of it back, particularly around the compliance and things? So, let's make that something that anyone can access. They can come up with their own content and cut and paste it into the compliance thing and say, is this compliant? And then that will come back and say, look, this is what I'm concerned about, but here's why, here's the rules that I'm concerned about, and here's a rewritten version of that. So it won't just go, nope, it's not compliant. It'll say, here's where you're okay, here's where I'm concerned, this is why, and this is a suggestion for a rewritten version.
Oh, how fantastic. So $27 a month, and you can use all of those tools, and it can generate for you, in essence, a digital marketing plan and provide some posts.
Yeah. Yep, it does. It does. It creates a digital marketing plan, fast action growth strategy. So yeah, it's actually working very well.
That is just awesome. That is awesome. And so with the kind of work that you do, people can jump on with your work down that avenue. What other ways can you help them?
So we can review their content and sort of say, okay, this is what we think you need. We do jump on one-on-one calls with people and say, okay, where is it you're going to? Where are you now? Where are you wanting to get to business-wise? What sort of budget have you got? Okay, we think we can help you get there, or not. I mean, if we don't think we can help them get there, then we will say. But we do a big deep dive before we get on a call with anyone and just have a look at their SEO. What's going on? Okay, what do we think is the best strategic use of their investment to move that needle forward? So I'm always talking about, how can we get from A to B? We can build a custom GPT as well, which is going to give them a more in-depth AI tool for creating content, more in-depth than $27 one. So we can do that. But, if if they want that for creating the content, that's not going to do their advertising and that kind of thing for them. So we can review, but we can also get them to, they can also, if they're concerned about their website, they can run any of the content through the checker and go, okay, is it compliant? So,
gosh, that's always the first thing. A lot of these websites, the content may have been written many, many, many years ago, and there's been big changes since then. And so we do want to make
exactly.
sure that it's all compliant.
Yeah. So, I mean, AI isn't something that you can kind of just go, okay, it takes care of everything. I think of it very much as a partnership. It's something that is like, it's a tool that we can use, and we can use it poorly and we can use it well. Just like a blog can be used poorly. Plenty of us have seen plenty of ordinary blogs. And then we've also seen blog posts that we go, oh my God, I have to keep reading this. It's so engaging.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And it is a changing world to space. So to get your guidance on what platforms are your target markets actually looking at, and what kind of posts are they finding intriguing as well, because we really, it's a way of communicating with people. We don't want to just be throwing information at people. We want them to be able to engage in it as well.
Mm. Yeah, it's about building a relationship. It's not about advertising through content. It's about starting to build a relationship. And it's just like if we go to networking, we don't go around the room saying, "Hi, I'm Cate. I do social media. What can I sell you?" It's like, "Hi, Julie. Nice to meet you. What do you do?" "Great. Okay, I'd love to hear more about that." It's about the people. We start to look at the people, and so we forget to do that a little bit online. But it really is a tool just for communicating with people and starting to build that relationship. And that's really what a lot of people that I work with want. Like one of the first things they'll say is, "I hope you're not going to do anything pushy." And it's like, no, because that attracts a certain type of person.
Yeah.
And that's not really what I do, but it's also not necessarily what you want to attract.
Yeah, and I think we see a lot of stuff because it's a global world, with social media, that we do see a lot of American style stuff. And I remember years ago, Steve Dotto from Dotto Tech, I used to watch him back years ago when he had a television program on how computers work. Gosh, I don't know. But now he's all about everything else as well. But he said once, he's Canadian, and he said once, the American audience is quite different to Canadian audiences, and it was indicating what the difference was. That we're, as Canadians, we're far more gentle. We provide information rather than be salesy. And as he was talking through that, I'm like, that's exactly the difference between Australia and America as well, in that area as well. Because I do look at some of the American advertising, and there's no way I'd come across as that pushy and insistent and on people's back constantly. I think we do need to have a bit more of a gentle touch, because if we have a pushy radar and we have a bullshit radar and we have a scam radar, and these are all getting heightened with the amount of marketing information that's coming to us. And so it is very important that we're building trust in that relationship pretty quickly as well, and not just saying this is what we do, but I'm coming to you authentically, giving you helpful information.
And that cultural difference is so important. I mean, years ago when I was at uni, we were doing linguistics and sociology, and we were looking at the cultural differences between different countries. And it was very much around, like, there's no right and wrong, but we can say that for example, on an aggression scale, America seems to be further down, more on the aggressive side than Australia and Canada. And then we look at, say, whether we call it introverted or sort of, blank on the word, but
Kind of more
rules
extroverted.
based. Yeah, but more sort of like the rules and
More
politeness and that sort of thing. That the Japanese are very much more into the politeness and the social rules and things. And a lot of the Asian countries are very, very sensitive to any little nuance in your face, reading any little nuance into a micro expression about whether that inflection means that they're actually not very happy. So there's all these it's like a scale, and we're all on there somewhere, but it's very important to look at, okay, if we're going to do market research, I always try and look at Australian businesses, because what's working for another clinic, if, for example, we're going to do some research, we might say, okay, let's go and look at other clinics that have got a similar audience to me. I'm in Melbourne. Let's look at the ones in Sydney or Brisbane. They're also, inner city. And we know there are slight differences between Sydney people, Melbourne people, whatever, but at least they're all Australian. And if we look at the clinics that are after a similar target audience to us, we can go and look at their online content and go, okay, what can we learn from this? We can scroll through their content. How many followers they got? Okay. How much engagement have they got? which posts are getting the most engagement? Oh, okay. Have I learned that this audience seems to like videos over photographs? Have I learned they like this content about this particular topic? Have I learned, what can I learn from looking at my competitors that are, appearing to do well online in another city, but with a very similar target audience? I mean, if I was going to do Pandora jewelry, I wouldn't be going and saying, okay, let's go and look at the high-end jewelry businesses online. I'd be looking at someone else who has similar sort of quality, price point, target audience, that sort of thing, and trying to learn from that audience.
Nice. I also remember, I'm trying to think of where I heard this, but I thought it was brilliant. I can't remember where I heard it. But look at for a dental, that wasn't saying it from a dental perspective, but you can apply it here, that those equivalent dental practices, go to their Facebook, Google review pages, copy a whole bunch of reviews and throw that into ChatGPT or the customized one and say, what are the things that are delighting these patients? Like, the group that I want to try to appeal to, what do I need to say in my marketing that they're already saying that they appreciate, and that's why they go to this other dentist?
Yeah, that's actually a really good strategy, because I've heard of the Amazon strategy, which is to go to Amazon and look at books on the product or service that you're selling and to read the reviews. And again, I always tell people, go to look at the Australian reviews, value those over any international reviews, and look at what people like and what they don't like about that book. Now, there's not a lot of books on dentistry that our clients, our potential patients are going to be reading. There's going to be some, but not a lot. But the idea of going and having a look at their reviews and seeing the positive and negative ones, that's quite useful. Yeah, what do they like? What do they not like?
Yeah. I did a little bit for myself and Amina with our business, looking at American dental consultants and what all their testimonials on their websites are saying. Like, what are the pain points from here? So it is about just recognizing it deserves the research, doesn't it? Because it is an unknown space and it is difficult. We don't naturally know how to speak to our patients about the stuff that's going to be really engaging. And so it's about going down that track and doing the additional research, because at the end of the day, it's the messaging that's either going to appeal, have no effect, or have a negative effect on these people.
And once you tie in that research with the messaging and the creativity, that gives you a strategy for great results. I mean, years ago when I was learning from John Morrow about how to do guest posting to get to build the email list, it was all around go to these different sites, research them, look at the top 10 blog posts they've got there, read them, and then read them again and work out what the underlying issues are that those top 10 blog posts are discussing. What are the underlying issues? And then when you write a guest post, write to those underlying issues, because this is how we know this is what's most important to that audience. And this is how we can go one blog post, one guest post, 250 new subscribers. Thanks for coming.
Beautiful.
So this is similar concept in that it's research based. And so, there's all these sort of quotes out there about how you follow in the footsteps of someone who's gone before you and sort of reverse engineer this stuff. So researching has a really good, a good basis for then creating things on top of that. Research your target audience, research what they like, and then create content that is tailored to you. What do you have to say about amalgam? What do you have to say about whitening? What do you think about home whitening compared to in-clinic whitening?
Yeah. And bring my mind back to the type of post that we put out there as well is, how do you find out what are the most frequently asked questions about implants by patients if you are actually doing implants? So in your posting, don't just keep putting up before and after pictures, but actually give them the information that they're asking when they are interacting with these sort of things, and like answer a different question every week or something like that. So,
well, we have this wealth of knowledge that new patients come in and ask us questions, all sorts of questions about implants or, Invisalign or whatever it is. And then we can't kind of remember them. But those questions that we're asked every day, Oh, so that's how I floss. I didn't realize. I was just shoving the floss in between my teeth. I didn't realize I had to put it to one side and then drag down and put it to the other side. Okay. Now I know what I'm doing wrong. Oh, this is why a water flosser works much better. Okay. My teeth are too compacted, and that's why I'm shredding the floss and getting more stuff between my teeth when I do it than, whatever it might be. All of those things that people, why would I want to splint? Okay, because I'm chewing all night and I'm going to crack a tooth if I don't have a splint. Well, why can't I just go to the pharmacy and get a mouth guard? Well, you could, but they're big and chunky, and you're probably going to dribble more with that than with a splint. All of these FAQs, every time you can, even get your DA to write down. Okay, next time we have a new patient, write down those questions that they ask. And then we can use that as content.
Yeah, content. That's it. And interesting content, not just the usual
relevant
stuff
content
regurgitated over and over again, which is fun in itself, but it has the opportunity to be more engaging. So, Cate, if people are interested in your magnificent $27 a month deal, for a start, what's their pathway into that, and what's the official name?
So that's on a special URL called mycopilot.au. So, yes, the idea is that with Copilot is your clinic's marketing crew. So it takes you from confusion to confidence. And, so that helps you very simply, mycopilot.au. And then if they'd like to reach out to me, they can find me on sanesocialmedia.com. So SANE, socialmedia.com. And I'm Cate with a C, CATE at sanesocialmedia.com.
Beautiful. Well, Cate, it's always so enlightening, and I always think to myself, I've got to rethink all the strategies again now whenever I speak to you. So thank you for being the wealth of information that you are. And this is a terrific, powerful way just to get a snippet of working with you, but also getting some fantastic a tool that you can actually, it's a very cheap tool. $27 a month is so cheap to be able to have some sort of system in place for that.
I do also have a medical marketing pack. If they go to sanesocialmedia.com, there is a whole bunch of cheat sheets that they can download for free, specifically tailored to health marketing. So one is the map to more bookings. So APRA-safe ways to guide to boost your Google visibility. We talked a bit about that. Messages to reduce cancellations and no-shows. DM and email follow-up templates to turn inquiries into confirmed bookings.
Fantastic. So Sane Social Media, SANE socialmedia.com. You can access that. There'll be access to the $27 a month copilot.au, and they can reach out to you then too and get some assistance further to that if they feel that they would benefit from it. You're a legend, Cate. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always so much fun. I as you can tell, I love marketing, and I can talk all day about that.
Well, there's a lot to say about it, that's for sure. So thank you. You've been fantastic.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed this podcast, then I encourage you to head over to Amina and my website, dentalbusinessmastery.com.au. You will find all the information that you need if you would like to gain our assistance in helping you and your team achieve great success. If you would like to find out more, you can also email us directly at info@dentalbusinessmastery.com.au. Thanks so much for listening.